Did you know that over 90% of homeowners carry a homeowner's insurance policy, but less than 50% of renters have renter's insurance? Now, renter's insurance is an amazing tool for your tenants because it gives them protection for their personal belongings, against liability charges, against medical charges, and it helps them cover the cost of any property damage that actually happens to the property itself. Most renters don't think about the importance of renter's insurance because they assume that your landlord policy or the property management insurance policy is going to cover any instances where insurance might be necessary. But in fact, that's not the case. I'm Casey from Rentec Direct, and in this video, we're going to look at the importance of renter's insurance and how you as a property manager and landlord can help your renters understand the value of renter's insurance and how you can make it a requirement of the lease so your property is protected and your renters are protected. So when you think of renter's insurance, what exactly do you think of that it covers? Sure, it might cover when there's a fire at the property or there's some sort of break-in and things get stolen. So all of that kind of makes sense as a renter not doing something bad, and there should be an insurance policy that covers it. But what about tenant negligence? Well, that's actually one of my favorite things that renter's insurance helps renters with. So I want to tell you a story about my wonderful, sweet father where his renter's insurance policy really helped him out. So a few years ago, he was living in a brand new luxury apartment in the Pacific Northwest. And he was doing dishes, and he was the type of person when he does his dishes, he puts the stopper in, he lets the water fill up, and then he comes back and washes the dishes. And while that water was filling up, he got a phone call, might have been from me, but he got a phone call, it distracted him, he walked away from that water that was filling up in his kitchen sink, and it started to overflow, it flooded his kitchen, and it flooded all over his apartment and flooded down into the two neighbors down below him. So it completely damaged his floor, completely damaged the ceiling of the property below him. All of his stuff that touched the water inside his property was damaged, and all of the tenants' belongings below them was damaged. So it's not just a couple things getting damaged right there, but it was very expensive structural damage to this brand new apartment. And it was property damage to his stuff and other tenants in the properties. And how do you think he covered the cost of that $1,000 bill? Well, it was his renter's insurance policy. He was paying about $20 a month for his renter's insurance, and they covered the bill for all of that structural damage and for all of his property stuff that was damaged in that accident. So I really like talking about that story because I think it's a great example of how something that was totally his fault and told the insurance like, oops, I'm the one who left the water running, was covered because most renters' insurance policies cover tenant negligence. So insurance is really common. We have it as homeowners, we have it as car drivers, we have it to cover our medical expenses. So why do renters think that they don't need an insurance policy for their dwelling, for where they live? Well, it turns out some renters think that their landlord's insurance or their property manager's insurance is going to cover the cost of any damage that happens to their home. But that's just not the case. A landlord policy usually only covers damage or destruction that happens to the structure itself, but it won't actually cover the cost of replacing or repairing any damage that happens to a tenant's personal belongings. So that's where a renter's insurance policy comes in. Not only will renter's insurance cover the cost of replacing damaged or stolen tenant's personal possession, but it can also cover the cost of any property damage that happens to the property itself. Ultimately, it's in the landlord's best interest to encourage their renters to get renter's insurance so they aren't left with a bill to cover the cost of property damage that's caused by a tenant that a tenant can't afford to pay. A lot of renters or just people in general aren't going to be able to cover that cost of a completely flooded house or a completely damaged property from like a candle that they left burning. So that's where insurance really comes into play. Another reason that renters don't have renter's insurance is because they make the assumption that it's going to be expensive. I mean, if you think about things like car insurance or medical insurance, where there are hundreds of dollars due each month for your premium, it kind of makes sense that in renter might think that that's going to be another couple $100 bill that they're going to have to pay just for renter's insurance. But in actuality, renter's insurance is one of the most affordable protections that a renter can have. They're usually anywhere from $8 up to $30, depending on what kind of plan and coverage that you want. And they're super easy to find affordable options right now for renters. Since it's in our best interest as a property manager and landlord, one of the things that we can do is remind our renters and talk to them about the reasons they can need and want to use renter's insurance. Here are some instances where a renter's insurance policy can really help out your tenant. Again, for the cost of a couple lattes at your favorite coffee shop, the cost of a movie date on a Friday night, your renters can have that protection. You can have that peace of mind as a property manager or landlord that your renters aren't going to come to you complaining if they need their personal possessions replaced, or that they're going to be like, oh, oops, I accidentally really damaged the property and I'm not going to be able to pay for that. So this is what you can do as a property manager or landlord, is remind your tenants of this value of getting a protection plan for a renter insurance policy. So some obvious reasons you might want renter's insurance is if there's a break-in or if there's a fire. Think about the damage to those renters' personal possessions. Some other reason is if a renter has a dog. Some renter's insurance policies actually cover liability if a dog bites a guest that's on the property. Renter's insurance can be valuable if a pipe bursts. Think about freezing temperatures or old plumbing. Water damage that happens from broken pipes or broken plumbing can be devastating. So having the right insurance policy can really help replace those items. If you get sued, a renter's insurance policy can really help out your tenants if there's a guest at the property who hurts themselves and then looks to the tenant as being liable for that injury. Renter's insurance can help you out with that. If the home gets vandalized, if someone's walking down the street and throws a rock through the window and that rock also hits the TV, renter's insurance can help cover the cost of replacing that window and the TV for your tenant. If your renter forgets to blow out a candle, remember most renter's insurance policies cover fire damage. So even if there isn't much structural damage, smoke can really damage personal belongings, and a renter's insurance policy can help cover the replacement of all those personal items and to that property damage, even if it was a negligent tenant who forgot to blow out a candle. If your car gets broken into and something gets stolen, it's actually renter's insurance, not your car insurance, that will cover the cost of replacing any items in your car that gets stolen. And if your home becomes unlivable. So we're hearing a lot about these devastating fires in California and all over the country that completely displace a tenant out of their home. And it's actually not usually a landlord's policy that's going to help a tenant find new housing. It will be their renter's insurance policy that can help them find a new place to live or cover living expenses if they're unable to go back to their property due to damage from a fire or a flood or something else that makes their property unlivable. So not only is it important for a property manager and a landlord to stress the value of renter's insurance to their tenant, but they can actually require that their tenants get a renter's insurance policy as a condition for living on the property. It's totally legal for property managers and landlords to make a renter's insurance requirement in the lease agreement. What's going to be really important for you is to track compliance and make sure that they actually have an active policy and that it's up to date. Property managers and landlords can track compliance with renters insurance requirements through their property management software. There's usually really simple ways for you to use your property management software to upload your tenant's renters insurance information and make sure it's up to date and current. You should also be able to offer options where they can actually purchase renters insurance right through your property management software. Those are really simple options for your renters to make sure that their property is protected, that their personal belongings are protected, and that they have one more step towards stress-free rental management. So you really want to help your renters understand, get renters insurance, because not only does it protect their stuff, but you as a property manager are going to mitigate any disputes and have that much more of a stress-free landlord-tenant relationship. Having the right insurance and making sure that your tenants have the right insurance is one of the things you can do as a property manager or a landlord to make sure that you have good rental management policies. Having good policies in place to protect your property, your investments, your business, and your tenants is one of the many ways that you can be successful in rental management. For more tips for successful rental management, go to rentecdirect.com/blog. And for more videos for landlords, property managers, renters, and investors, subscribe to our channel. Thanks for stopping by. We'll see you next time.